everyone. Welcome from wherever you're joining us this morning here in Pacific Northwest. I'm Lavanya, and I lead the Copilot Core Platform efforts for Intune product. And here with me are Amit. Amit, would you like to introduce yourself? And then we'll do a quick intro and then jump straight on.
Hey folks, this is Amit Ghodke. I'm a product manager here too within Microsoft and Intune team.
Awesome. And hey, everybody, this is Ravi Ashok. I'm also a product manager on the Intune team working on Copilot scenarios with the awesome people here. Great to be here with everybody.
Awesome. With that introduction, we are now going to really deep dive into agenda. Like Patrick mentioned, if you have any questions, use the options to ask the questions along the way. We will run through, we have a lot of content, so we will run through the entire content and take questions at the end. We will be talking about the overall strategy and thinking of Copilot and Intune, and do some deep dives into core capabilities, which Ravi will be covering for most part. And then Amit will be doing some interesting experiences related walkthrough as well. With that, why don't I quickly jump straight into what is the intent of the AI experience. One, the way we have really thought about the strategy and the experiences is not to kind of think about AI magically trying to do something where the data is not available, right? So that means foundationally for all the learnings that the Intune as a product has for your tenant and a tenant ecosystem from an endpoint management perspective, we really want to focus on three important areas. One is how do we kind of help you scale your IT resources and kind of take the mundane activities, the workflows that is hard, or it takes days for you to scan through the data, come up with insights, analyze it. How do we kind of help you scale that kind of an resourcing by simplifying the complexity and also enabling you to ease the workflows by where, as we are now shifting our strategy more towards the agentic thinking, one of the key aspects is easing of the workflows with the right kind of agentic scenarios in place. Again, with the aspect of you being still the co-pilot helping decide key aspects, right? Like how do you want to run these agents at what frequency and all of that. When Amit goes over the vulnerability remediation agent, we'll do a little bit of deep dive into it. But high level, this is kind of like the three circles and how Copilot is kind of centered to the way we think about endpoint management. With that, if you really look at a day in the life of an IT, right, everything that you see on the left is pretty much applicable, be it you planning and trying to deploy policies or operating and managing the inclusion of new devices in your ecosystem, or any set of devices post and update having trouble with them transitioning from a compliant to a non-compliant state. As you're thinking about troubleshooting these devices, with the insights, you are going ahead and trying to analyze and figure out what's the way, if there are multiple policies over a period of time, being on-prem, and as you transition to cloud native, you have an opportunity to think about the policy optimization that you could do, right? Again, all ensuring that none of the governance and the security aspect is breached is a lot of work if you really think about it, right? And Amit, if for a minute, if we can just go back to the previous slide, how do we ensure that the Copilot kind of helps with all of this aspect is where the focus of today's conversation is going to be, right? Again, thinking this through, one aspect that we really are not deviating from is the mandate key pillars of how we think about the AI experiences, which is where privacy, security, responsible AI is very foundational to how we think about these experiences, which is where, if you look at this view, it clearly calls out our key AI principles, where one, your data is your data. We are not using your data to train any models without your consent. And again, any model that is going to be trained is still going to be in Microsoft ecosystem and not kind of leaving the Microsoft boundary, right? Again, that is very, very important for you all to feel comfortable and have the peace of mind that the data is protected with the right kind of controls in place, be it security controls or compliance control or any sort of privacy controls, right? Foundationally ensuring that we go through responsible AI, not just from the prompts and the prompt response or an agentic workflow perspective, but also from a UX in terms of what you see as prompt responses is something that we foundationally keep it very close to our heart and ensure that as part of any feature rollout, we ensure that all of these key checkpoints are taken care of. Now, this is all great grounding. How do we think about the role-based access control? Again, what you see here as RBAC is role-based access control when you're using Security Copilot. Thing for you all to note is role-based access control is not a backdoor channel into getting access to any data that an IT admin or an analyst should be getting a handle on, right? So that means all of the existing R&R in terms of the policies and the geographies and the data that an admin should have access to is completely at parity as you think about the Copilot experience, right? So that means a global admin who is trying to access the entire landscape of the data for an admin will be able to do so because he or she will have access to it. However, if an individual has access only to a specific geography, then that's the limited data that will be used to pass it to the LLM for it to reason through and for you to get back a response. I will talk a little more about what the experiences really looks like. Moving on to the next set of aspects, how does the licensing work? Here we leverage the concept of secure compute units. And again, you will need to provision these compute units. And the foundational aspect is ensuring that you have an Azure subscription and you can go ahead and configure as minimal as 1 SEU, and you can go up to having 100 SEUs configured for the experiences, depending on the use case and the products within the security portfolio that you support. Again, one thing that I didn't have an opportunity to call out earlier, which I think would be a great grounding point, would be Security Copilot kind of is foundational to several of the 1P products in the security portfolio alongside Intune. It also honors the AI experiences within the Entra, Purview, Sentinel, and Defender product, depending on what products is available in your ecosystem and what the RBAC access really looks like. LLM will have all of this data set to reason through. Now, as we have understood the core foundational principles of security, compliance, and AI, and also the role-based access control and licensing, what are the ways in which you really can access the AI experiences with an Intune product? You have two different avenues, right? The one and the foundational one is our embedded experience, which is on the right side, which is the in-product experience that you're all super familiar with, use it on a day-to-day basis. AI experiences are available within several of the workflows. And if you want to do a deep dive into a given session of a certain set of prompt execution, the other way to think about it is the standalone experience where you can go try out some of the prompts, which may not be relevant to Intune, but it may also be relevant to other 1P products without you going into the respective embedded experience. Now, with this two ways of looking at how to access Copilot, let's first understand what are the capabilities that's currently available in production. So we went general availability earlier this year, and these are the three pillars in which we have enabled our experience. One is the Copilot chat experience, where you will be able to ask questions related to your device, or as you're troubleshooting, you want to understand more of the policies that has kind of caused and conflict, and how do you want to resolve these policy related conflicts? Or you want to understand more about not just the physical devices, you may want to understand more about the surface devices or cloud PC devices. How do you leverage advanced KQL assistance related controls to be able to do this troubleshooting, or even help think through the app elevation related assessment of risk that you want to do, because you as an admin may not be familiar with all the apps that exist out there, right? But you do see an elevation. How do you ensure you're able to cater to all of this is kind of what the Copilot chat experience is all about. And Ravi will talk about this a little more in detail. And then exploring your data landscape and your data portfolio, be it across devices, apps, users, or policies, is another powerful scenario that's, again, available within the product for you all to reason through the data and then take meaningful action. Again, this is just a teaser. More of what's really available as part of the product experience is coming soon. The third important pillar is more the agentic workflows, just like how the industry and Microsoft, as we are leaning forward, we are full on into thinking through how we can bring signals from other Microsoft products and make the experiences within Intune powerful, is where we kind of look at the vulnerability management signals from the Defender product and kind of enabling and providing the right kind of recommendations for an admin to take action over, right? Now, with these three pillars kind of etched in your mind, why don't we quickly jump into seeing more of what these product experiences really look like? With that, I'm going to hand this over to Ravi. Over to you, Ravi.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Lavanya, for a wonderful overview. Excuse me for just a moment. All right, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about a couple of those pillars that Lavanya just mentioned, and we'll go a little bit more in depth on the feature set, and we'll look at a few demos so that we can all understand together what do some of these Copilot capabilities look like. So let's get started with the Copilot chat and what we call our contextual generative AI assistants. Before going into a full-fledged feature set or just walking through some of the key capabilities, I wanted to highlight some of the things that were recently released, just in the past 5-6 weeks or so, that are enhancements on top of our Copilot chat story. The first is that Copilot chat, which is now session aware and accessible globally across Intune. So no matter where you are in the Intune console, you can call up Copilot chat and get your chat interface with inline answers and inline contextual assistance available to you. Previously, we had these targeted integrations in different places across the Intune console, and we've stitched those together now with the session-aware chat. Additionally, we've added Windows 365 scenarios, also known as cloud PCs, into our Copilot chat interface. And so you can actually leverage Copilot chat to get insights on your cloud PCs in terms of connection quality, licensing, and even configurations and performance. So these are just a couple of the things that changes, enhancements, new capabilities that went live in the last few weeks. Let's move on to take a look at the full list of capabilities. What do you get with Copilot chat? We already talked about how you can access it anywhere. So Copilot chat is now available across Intune. You have a global entry point up at the top, and we'll look at that in just a moment in some demo videos. And it retains the history of your chat session, just like you would expect with a chat. Now, the way that you interact with Copilot chat is through a few different key things. First, prompt suggestions. You may not know exactly what you want to ask Copilot, and we have a certain set of capabilities that Copilot chat makes available to you. And these prompt suggestions help you as the user understand what those capabilities are and engage directly with them as you desire. Of course, we also have skills-based prompts, meaning you don't have to pick from the prompt suggestions. You can go in and ask Copilot what you want, and the various skills that Copilot has available to it to answer your question will be leveraged to get you the details that you need to accelerate your workflow. And so these skills, these Copilot skill questions can cover things like device troubleshooting, management of policies, asking about policies and their impact, asking and getting insights about your Surface devices and your Windows 365 devices like we just talked about. Sometimes something you enter may require some input, and the Copilot chat will guide you through that in this back and forth experience. As of recently, you can now also access Explorer-based prompts from the Copilot chat. So we'll talk about this in just a moment, but we have this first-class dedicated workload called Explorer to ask questions about your Intune data using natural language. You can now access those same questions, those same queries right from the Copilot chat, kind of stitching these two big pieces together. And finally, the Copilot chat has documentation-based skills available. So across all of our targeted integrations, across all of our targeted things that you can ask about, in addition to that, you can always ask Copilot questions, and it will leverage information from our first-party trusted documentation to help you out in the workflow that you're engaging in. So this is kind of a capability list, right? What are all the different things that you can do with Copilot Chat? Let's take a look at a demo video that exemplifies some of these things to see what this looks like in Intune. So you'll see there's this global Copilot entry point up at the top, just like I mentioned, and you have this Copilot Chat with suggestions provided to you on what you can engage with. I can, of course, type what I want to and select the suggestion that matches my query. And you'll see here that as the admin, I am trying to get more information about one of my Intune policies called attack surface reduction rules, which is a policy that I may be collaborating on with multiple admins, a policy that I may not touch very often when I log into the Intune console. But this Copilot summary here gives me a comprehensive overview of all of the settings in that policy, what those settings do, and even the impact that can arise from changing that policy, so that as I actually interact with that policy further, Copilot's helping me understand what I'm doing. We'll see here that one of the Explorer-based prompts, which we'll talk about in just a little bit more, is available from the Copilot chat as well. So I had a data-based question around wanting to see the elevations that my users are doing with endpoint privilege management, and I was able to use Copilot chat to ask that question and get redirected to the right AI workload, in this case Explorer, to go look at the answer to that question. So this is just a quick demonstration to show a couple of those Copilot chat capabilities, but there's a lot more questions that you can ask and a lot more capabilities that you can access now with Copilot chat globally available across the Intune console and available to get you that contextual help wherever you are. So now let's talk a little bit about exploring your Intune data with natural language. This capability, the thing you just saw in the demo video, the screen called Explorer, this is our first step into an AI first interface that helps you accelerate your work and get your job done. So you can use natural language to explore your Intune data and all the relationships of that data across devices, apps, policies, users, compliance, updates, all of the regular concepts, configurations, and workloads that you deal with regularly as an IT admin. You can use natural language to ask questions about those things, refine those results, see those results right in Intune, get Copilot recommendations on next steps and the query that you're looking at, and take action right from those results. And so the idea is that by taking what Copilot does pretty well with natural language interpretation and marrying that with our Intune data platform, we can give admins this powerful new way to explore their data with natural language and take action to help them with all kinds of flows across troubleshooting, across trying to create a custom report that they're sharing with their IT admins, or maybe you're just trying to find a certain set of apps or policies or devices and make sure that they're configured correctly, and Copilot helps make it easier for you to do that. Next slide. So let's take a look at a quick demo once again to see how this Explorer capability and Copilot help you navigate your Intune data. So we'll use Explorer here as an IT admin to try to find devices that are having an app that's older than a certain version. The Explorer tool gives me a bunch of examples as to the kinds of questions that I can ask about my data, but I'll go ahead and start typing myself, and an intelligent semantic search will help match me to various data queries that Copilot can help present to me to help me get my work done. So in this case, we'll see the admin just start searching for devices that have an app version older than a certain version. The user gets matched to a query using their natural language search. And these queries have parameters and variables in them that you can populate to give you some flexibility and help you navigate your data in just the way that you're looking for. So you'll see here that the admin is looking for devices that have an app version of the Global Secure Access Client that's older than a particular version. And this custom report, this custom data view is served up right here in Intune with a Copilot summary and suggestions on next steps that help the user digest what they're looking at. The user can take action right from here by adding these devices into a group. So they want to remediate these devices, they can put them into an existing group or create a brand new group that they will then leverage with their IT admin team to go ahead and remediate these device issues. Whatever that is, whether that means deploying a new version of the app, changing some configurations on the device, this group is now your mechanism to take action and get the job done. And so we see here how Copilot, with natural language exploration of your data, serving up of custom data views, and then a springboard into action, helped accelerate the IT admin's work and help them get their job done more quickly. And once again, with these queries and these data queries available through natural language, both here and in the Copilot chat, the admin can really ask any of these questions about Intune wherever they are, and they'll get taken to the right place to view the data, to view the answer, and really the hope, once again, is to accelerate their work no matter what they're doing. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on. So a couple more things to demonstrate here. Alongside natural language exploration of your data, we will go back to some of the targeted integrations that we were talking about earlier to take a look at how Copilot can assist with querying your data as a more advanced or proficient user who may be using Custo querying or KQL to get data from devices. You may be familiar with device query at the single level and both at the single level and at the multiple device level as a capability in the Intune console that allows IT admins to write KQL queries, actually send those down to devices or send that KQL query directly to our data platform and get data back about their devices. And so again, for this more advanced proficient user, Copilot is integrated right into this capability to help accelerate the IT admin's work. So the admins can leverage natural language requests to try and craft KQL queries and get the query that they need to actually get the data that they're looking for. And Copilot will help you out by providing suggestions based on your natural language input, trying to help you craft that query. And it will only present valid, runnable queries that you can either modify yourself or leverage to get data. So let's take another look at a quick demo to see how Copilot accelerates IT admins using single device query. So in this demo, we will take a look at an admin trying to get near real-time data from a device. This is what this single device query capability lets you do. And so we'll see the admin finding the particular device that they are trying to get some data from. So they may be troubleshooting an issue. They may just be inspecting an online device to make sure that it's got certain things configured correctly. We'll see that the admin navigates over to that device. And they will access the device query capability that lets them write this query and send it down. However, instead of having to manually craft their query on their own, the admin is able to leverage Copilot to help them out and accelerate them getting to the query that they're looking for. So we'll see here the admin typing in natural language, what are the top 10 processes. Let's see here, and Copilot will now give you a query that gets you the answer to the data that you're looking for. And the admin has the ability to edit this query, to build it up into something more complex. So Copilot could have been used as a means to get to the query itself, or as just a starting point to help an admin craft something more complex that they're looking for. Either way, it's accelerated their work, and really this data is what they were after, and it's helped get the admin get to that data faster. Very similarly to near real-time querying with single devices, Copilot is integrated right into the multi-device query capability as well, so that as you're asking questions about your devices, their inventory, and the hardware, Copilot's there helping you out as well. So we'll take a look at a very similar demo video that demonstrates that same capability. The main difference between Copilot assisting with single device query versus multi-device query is just that the underlying features give access to near real-time data from a single device versus data stored in our data platform device across several devices. So you'll see here in a very similar flow, the admin asks for ARM devices or non-ARM devices with 64-bit processors, and they want to see their OS version. So here the admin may be trying to create a certain report here that they will leverage for further activity later, putting these devices into different groups, mitigating an issue, changing configurations. But instead of having to study the schema and craft a KQL fully on their own, Copilot accelerated them by helping the IT admin draft the query that they were looking for to get to the data more quickly. All right, so that was a lot of demos back to back. I think that was the last of the demos that I had for you folks, so we can move on here. And with that, what you've seen so far is a demonstration and a sort of a high to mid-level deep dive on two of our major pillars, our Copilot chat and the ability to explore your Intune data with natural language. And you saw how all of these come together under the umbrella of our Copilot capabilities. There's a little bit more that we have to talk to you about in terms of Copilot. And to cover that, I will hand it over to Amit, who will talk about Copilot integrated into EPM, as well as several of our other capabilities.
Thank you so much, Ravi. And continuing on the amazing momentum that has been created across all of the Copilot capabilities, I'll walk you over the remainder of the scenarios that you can leverage upon through Copilot and Intune experiences. Starting off with the endpoint privilege management scenario, a lot of you may be leveraging endpoint privilege management, which is part of Intune suite, for enhancing the security and the zero trust capability within your environment. With Copilot and Intune, we're providing you the ability to rationale over the requests that would show up for approvals within endpoint privilege management. It becomes really hard for a lot of the administrators to be able to identify if a specific elevation request is vulnerable or not. And this is exactly where Copilot with endpoint privilege management capability shines. It provides you with a detailed information leveraging Microsoft Defender's threat intelligence capability on whether the app or the request that is coming in through elevation is malicious or not. So let's go ahead and take a look at that in action through a demo within this experience itself. You will very quickly see that a user is trying to elevate an app in their environment and requesting for elevation. They would provide a justification for that particular app, and they would send that to the administrator. Now, bear in mind, this may or may not necessarily be malicious, but we're not sure yet. On the administrator side, you would see the console, and you would then get into the elevation request blade. This particular elevation request, as you can see, has a hash value. It has various different aspects, but it's really hard to tell from the hash value itself what is the state of this particular app. And clicking on Analyze with Copilot brings up our Copilot experiences that would check the reputation of this hash against Defender and help us understand if there is any malicious vulnerability associated with the app itself. And there you go. In this case, we did not see anything bad around this app, and the administrator is good to go. They can then go ahead and approve this particular elevation request, hence simplifying the workflow around endpoint privilege management, or EPM. We talked about EPM, we talked about the other capabilities. Let's talk about the fundamental aspect that a lot of the administrators and people working on Intune do, which is they work with policies day in and day out. They are tasked with creating policies. They're tasked with summarizing existing policies. They're tasked with understanding if a particular setting within the policy makes sense, what is the recommended value for these policy setting. Also understanding if there is an associated conflict with these settings that they are going to deliver within the policy itself. And this is exactly where the Copilot Intune capability across policy management shines. With the Copilot Intune policy management experiences, you would be able to summarize the different policies, understand the impact of the policy settings themselves within the workflow, and then be able to make appropriate decisions as you continue to craft these policies. Let's take a look at the demo in this particular video. We have a policy that has been created. It's a security policy, pretty large. I'm a new admin. I don't understand this policy. My colleague created it. I want to learn more before I make amends and changes to the policies as asked by my superiors. So I'm going to start off with summarizing the policy and try to understand what are the various different things that have been configured here. Copilot gives me a pinpointed information and data. Further, I have specific settings within the policy itself. So now I can leverage the Copilot moniker next to the policy setting and try and capture and gather more information about this policy setting versus going through the Learn Docs and trying to scramble, calling consultants and whatnot. From here on, you can also do and run and ask various other questions that we talked about, which is the impact of the policy, trying to understand the conflicts and whatnot. In the interest of time, we would move on to the next capability, which is specifically around the troubleshooting experience. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have to end up troubleshooting devices or issues and failures within our organization that would otherwise cause the environment to break down, or the devices or the users to have various different issues. With Copilot and Intune, we have the ability to help you understand the devices themselves, what policies have been applied, what apps have been applied, what error, understanding a specific error code, even comparing two separate devices. Imagine a situation where you have a user and the user is complaining there's something works on a particular device, it doesn't work on the other device, or you have two other users and they're all part of the same business unit complaining that they are having difference in experiences across the devices. There are things that are happening on one but not on the other, or it started just happening a week back or maybe a few days back, and you have to now get into the troubleshooting mode. So traditionally, you would leverage the Intune console, go into the devices, go to the troubleshooting blade, and start figuring things out. With Copilot and Intune, we can leverage upon the compare device experiences that's going to compare the two devices directly and provide us with the differences associated with those devices. So let's go ahead and take a look at that in this particular demo and showcase how Copilot and Intune enhances the troubleshooting experience. So here I'm in the console again, and now I'm looking at the first device that is under discussion, and I would open that device and I would start by understanding about this particular device. So in order to learn more about this device, I would start with Summarize with Copilot, and that would then go ahead and open up a prompt within Copilot chat. Here you can see seeing the various different aspects about this particular device, who the users are, what policies they've been applied, et cetera, their compliance state. But I want to be able to compare this with the other device for the policy changes, because I have a suspicion that it might be the policy that is causing the difference in experience between these two devices. And sure enough, Copilot and Intune goes ahead and understands the different policies that have been applied to these two devices, and at your fingertips provides you with the differences in the configuration profiles. And hence I can now go ahead and take action and specifically make amends within these policies or the assignments to help the user alleviate through the problem that they are facing. We've talked about the different Copilot and Intune capabilities, but remember, you also have capabilities that are available through the Intune console across Windows 365 and specifically Surface management scenarios. So with Windows 365, very recently, we released the ability to gain insights into your cloud PCs themselves. The IT admins managing their cloud PCs through the Intune console can now start to interact with the Copilot capabilities and start leveraging those for their cloud PC. So things like understanding licensing of your cloud PC, understanding the trend of bandwidth performance, trying to gather more detail and insights around the cloud PCs itself that have not been used for a while, and more. So all of these capabilities are available through Windows 365 scenarios that are made available within Copilot and Intune capabilities. Talking about Surface, we have also released a bunch of scenarios around Surface management. A lot of you might be managing your Surface devices within the Intune console, leveraging the Surface management portal. We provide you with the ability to learn and gather insights around the Surface devices. And we will learn more about these through the demos as we continue to walk you through the scenarios, starting off with understanding more about the performance of the devices, trying to make decisions on when a specific license or a specific aspect is going to expire around the Surface devices themselves. So things like, how do I troubleshoot Surface devices? When is the Surface date going to end for my particular Surface devices? Trying to understand the roles and permissions that are associated for Surface management portal, looking or generating a coverage and report of the Surface devices themselves. And more so, here is an example that's highlighting the outcome of trying to gather the roles and permissions that are required for Surface management portal, where Copilot goes ahead and gives you those insights. And talking about insights, you can gather further more insights through Copilot and Intune Surface experiences, starting off by asking, hey, how can I extend the life of my Surface devices? Or what are the best practices for protecting the Surface devices? So all in all, you would notice that Copilot in Intune becomes the ubiquitous assistant that is available and applicable throughout the Intune scenarios. We continue to work and deliver on new capabilities within Copilot and Intune experiences, and we would love for you to hear the announcements that would show up in the Ignite timeframe during the Ignite conference, which is coming up very, very soon. Now that we have covered the entire gamut and the spectrum of the scenarios across the various IT administrative workflow, we can't be left far behind and not talk about agents. Agents are the new norm within the industry itself, and Intune has also begun the journey, and we are starting off with the Intune vulnerability remediation agent. The Intune vulnerability remediation agent today is in a limited public preview, which means that we are only flighting a select set of customers. If you are interested, you may reach out through your account teams, and if we have bandwidth, we would go ahead and enable you. However, with Intune Vulnerability Remediation Agent, the goal is to be able to help administrators understand and get a prioritized list of the vulnerabilities that exist in their environment, be able to triage these vulnerabilities based on their impact, based on that prioritization. Because let's face it, our SOC admins and everybody else would have a plethora of information to work through. They would have a ton of data that they need to sift through. Knowing which ones to prioritize, how they are going to impact your environment, what are the devices that are impacting the environment, especially the ones that are managed through within the Intune experience. Not only that, having the ability or somebody guiding through the remediation is extremely valuable. So the Intune vulnerability remediation agent is gold at doing exactly all of the things that I described, providing you with a prioritized list of vulnerabilities, a guided step-by-step remediation workflow, and then help the environment be more secure. So once again, these are all of the capabilities that exist today. You can leverage upon these capabilities as long as you have the prerequisites that Lavanya highlighted in the beginning. It's part of the bigger umbrella within Security Copilot, and you can take advantage of the Security Copilot capabilities within Intune by provisioning those security compute units. With that, we would like to thank everybody for joining us during this presentation, and hope you learned a lot. And thank you to all of the presenters that walked us through the various different Copilot and Intune scenarios. Over to you, Patrick.
Yeah, no, thank you again, and thanks for sharing all of the great information around Security Copilot and Intune. And also thanks to everybody who helped out in the Q&A for answering questions and providing resources and stuff like that. We do have some time for some Q&A. If somebody wants to post a question into the chat, we can see if we can handle those live rather than in chat. I was looking through the Q&A, and there's a couple of things maybe to call out. Someone asked about incorrect syntax on queries that are generated and providing feedback to the team. And I do want to just emphasize, Ravi put it in the chat here, but if you are using Security Copilot and you get a response that, does not look right, does not contain the right information, whatever it is, please make sure that you're using the thumbs up and thumbs down in the portal and provide input on those queries. That does get reviewed by the engineering team for further refinement in the future. There was another question on KQL generation in Security Copilot and what is taken into account whenever the KQL is generated. And I answered that from a generic KQL standpoint, and then Ravi kind of added on. And it's one of the differences that you may want to that we may want to highlight between like the standalone Security Copilot experience versus the experiences made for the products and the embedded experiences. Like whenever you do KQL generation in the Intune portal for a specific product, it takes into account the things that are available to it as opposed to more generic KQL information that you might get in the standalone portal. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Ravi?
No, Patrick, I think you covered it. I think the core thing I was trying to highlight was that for these specific integrations, the device query integrations, we have done some additional work at the, at the model level to basically inform the models about the specific schema for these capabilities, so that when you do request a KQL query, it is trying to leverage that schema rather than generically craft a query. It may not get things right 100%, and that's why the editor is there for you, and Copilot's really there for you as an accelerator. And we certainly want to hear the feedback when it doesn't get things right. So yeah, you covered it. Thank you.
That's great. Along the similar vein, there was also a question around SCU utilization in standalone and embedded experiences. And it's just another thing to highlight. I do want to kind of emphasize that when you use the embedded experiences, like kind of the pre-canned stuff in the portals, those are queries that the team has worked hard to refine to use as little SCU provision capacity as possible. So if you do find an embedded experience helpful, you can use those knowing that you'll use fewer SCUs than if you were to do it in open prompting in the standalone portal. We've given a couple of minutes. Let's see here. There's a question on privacy data. I think a couple of the questions have come up. We do have some information in the documents on data storage handling and privacy concerns. So I think if you check out a few of those links as well, you should find some information around that data handling. And we've given a few minutes. So unless anybody else has anything they want to add, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Don't hear any complaints. So appreciate, again, to those of you still on the line, thank you for joining. Don't forget to visit aka.ms/security-community for any future webinars. Sign up for our mailing list to make sure that you get notified. And if you have additional questions on this topic, especially the Microsoft Copilot, Security Copilot in Intune, make sure that you visit aka.ms/Microsoft Intune community, which is a great place for you to post any questions that you may have, not just about Security Copilot in Intune, but about Intune in general. So thank you all again for being part of this community. Thanks to our presenters. Our people answering Q&A. We hope to see you on these calls next time. Thank you.